I married my boss to save his reputation. This is just a business arrangement, he reminded me daily. But then he started bringing me coffee every morning. Then he started holding my hand a little too long. Then one night, he whispered, "I don't want to pretend anymore." Just as I thought we had a future, I overheard his secretary ask, "When are you telling her the truth?" What he said next shattered my heart. I never imagined I'd be sharing my story here, but I need to get this off my chest. I'm a 32-year-old woman who, until recently, worked as an executive assistant at a prominent firm in New York City. My boss, Robert Callahan, Rob, was the CEO. He's in his early 40s, charismatic, and has this commanding presence that everyone respects. Our working relationship was always professional, and I admired him for his leadership. A few months ago, rumors started swirling about Rob being involved in some financial misconduct. The media caught wind of it, and the company's reputation took a hit. The board was pressuring him to take action to restore confidence. One evening, after most of the office had cleared out, Rob called me into his office. He looked more stressed than I'd ever seen him. "I have a proposition for you," he began, his voice steady but his eyes betraying his anxiety. "To counteract the negative press, I need to show stability not just in the company, but in my personal life. I want you to consider marrying me." I was stunned. "Marry you?" "Rob, that's a lot to process." "Are you serious?" He nodded. "It would be a business arrangement. No romantic entanglements. Just a way to present a united, stable front to the world. In return, I'll ensure you're financially secure and promote you within the company." I told him I needed time to think. That night, I weighed the pros and cons. The idea felt surreal, but I understood the logic behind it. After a sleepless night, I agreed. We had a small, private ceremony with close colleagues and family. I moved into Rob's penthouse overlooking Central Park. We maintained our professional demeanor at work, and at home, we coexisted amicably. Rob was clear from the start, this is just a business arrangement. He reminded me of that often. But as weeks passed, things began to shift. Rob started bringing me coffee in the mornings, remembering exactly how I liked it. During public events, he'd hold my hand a bit longer than necessary. We began sharing dinners, talking about more than just work. One evening, after a particularly long day, we sat on the balcony, the city lights stretching before us. "I don't want to pretend anymore," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. My heart skipped. "What are you saying, Rob?" He turned to me, his eyes searching mine. I think I've developed feelings for you." I was taken aback. I hadn't allowed myself to acknowledge my own growing feelings. We decided to give our relationship a real chance. Those were some of the happiest days I've known. The media praised Rob's turnaround, and the company's image improved. Then, everything unraveled. One evening, I returned to the office to grab a file I'd left behind. As I approached Rob's office, I heard voices. His secretary, Linda, was speaking. "When are you going to tell her the truth?" she asked. Rob sighed. "Soon. I never meant for it to go this far." My stomach dropped. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I left without the file, tears streaming down my face. At home, I confronted Rob. "Was any of this real?" He looked pained. "It started as a facade, but my feelings for you became real. I was afraid to tell you the truth. I felt betrayed. I packed a bag and left that night." The media soon got wind of our separation, leading to more scandal. I resigned and moved to a quieter part of the city, trying to heal. Months later, Rob reached out, apologizing and hoping for a second chance. But some wounds are too deep. I declined, choosing to rebuild my life on my own terms. This experience taught me the importance of honesty and the complexities of human emotions. While I cherished the moments we had, the foundation was built on deceit. Moving forward, I know I deserve a love that's genuine and true. I thought I was done with him. I told myself I would never look back. But Rob had a way of showing up, even when he wasn't physically there. A few weeks after I moved out, I started getting flowers. No note. Just a simple arrangement every Friday, always delivered around lunchtime. At first, I thought it was him trying to get back in my head. So I ignored them. Threw them away. But then one Friday, the bouquet wasn't just roses. Tucked between them was a single white tulip. My mother used to call tulips my comfort flowers when I was a kid. Rob had only heard that once, in a random conversation we had during a late-night wine-fueled talk about childhood. He remembered. I didn't reach out. But the silence between us started to grow louder. One day, I was sitting in a small cafe in Brooklyn, trying to rewrite my resume, when someone slid into the seat across from me. It was Clara, Rob's ex-fiancée. Now, here's something I didn't mention earlier. Rob had been engaged once, years before I ever worked for him. It had ended badly, or so I'd heard. But I never knew the full story, and Rob never talked about her. Don't look so surprised, Clara said, crossing her legs and sipping her latte like we were old friends. I figured you might want to hear the truth from someone who doesn't whisper it behind closed doors. I didn't say anything. Just stared. She leaned in. You know he proposed to me after a scandal too, right? My chest tightened. Different scandal, she said casually. That one involved insider trading rumors. Same script though. Marry the good girl. Rebuild the image. Keep the board happy. I wanted to throw my coffee in her face, but I stayed still. You're not the first, she added. But maybe you'll be the last, if you're smart enough. She stood, dropped a 20 on the table, and walked out like she'd just delivered a weather report. I sat there for what felt like hours, heart racing, mind spinning. Had Rob done this before? Was I part of some pattern? That night, I drank half a bottle of cheap wine and texted him, did you do this with her too? He replied in less than a minute. Rob, can we talk? I didn't answer. But 2 days later, there was a knock at my door. I opened it expecting Rob. It wasn't him. It was Marcus. He was Rob's younger brother. The black sheep of the family. He used to work at the company but left after a falling out years ago. I'd only met him twice, and both times he'd been distant and blunt. Now here he was on my doorstep with a folder in his hand. I know you're mad, he said. But you need to see this. I let him in. He opened the folder. Inside were printouts. Emails. Meeting notes. Financial documents. But what stopped me was a photo. Me and Rob, holding hands at some charity gala. Smiling. That's the night he signed the merger papers, Marcus said. He needed your marriage to go public before that deal could finalize. It wasn't about love. It was never about love. I felt like my body wasn't mine anymore. Like I was floating above the room, looking down at someone else's nightmare. I don't get it, I whispered. Why would he say all those things? Why bring me coffee? Why act like he cared? Marcus looked at me, eyes full of something between pity and rage. Because he needed you to believe it. I didn't cry that night. Not even when Marcus left and I was alone again. I just stared at the photo, at my own smiling face. A face that didn't know she was being used. That was when something in me snapped. I wasn't going to let this end with me as the fool. If Rob wanted a business arrangement, fine. I'd treat it like one. And business was about leverage. I started digging. Not out of revenge, at least, not at first. I just needed the truth. The real truth, not the packaged version Rob gave to the press or the emotionally manipulated half-truths he gave me. I went back through old emails. I reread texts. I looked through calendar invites, board meeting notes I had helped schedule back when I was his assistant. Little things started to stick out, like how he always scheduled calls with certain investors right after high-profile charity events, or how specific donations were made right before key negotiations. I even found an email draft he never sent, saved in a folder labeled just in case. It was addressed to the board. The subject line read, "Statement regarding the dissolution of my marriage." My stomach turned. It was dated 2 weeks before he told me he didn't want to pretend anymore. So he had been preparing to discard me even while holding my hand on that balcony. That same week, I got a call from someone I didn't expect, Marta, one of the junior analysts at the firm. She was young, bright, a little too eager to please back when I worked there. We weren't close, but we'd talked occasionally in the break room. "I don't know who else to call," she said. "But I think something's going on at the company. And I think Rob knows." She sounded scared. "What do you mean?" I asked. "There's been pressure to move funds around, off-record meetings with foreign investors. It's shady." I tried to bring it up, but HR shut me down. They told me it was sensitive and above my level. I told her to email me everything. She did. Late that night, I sat with my laptop, sifting through what looked like the early signs of a full-on cover-up. Rob wasn't just a liar. He was playing every angle. And I wasn't the only one who had been manipulated. I called Marcus. "I think this goes deeper than either of us thought," I told him. "He's hiding more than just our marriage contract." Marcus was silent for a moment. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. "There's something you need to know. About Dad's death." Rob's father had died a year before all of this started. The official story was a heart attack. It was sudden, tragic, and had pushed Rob into the CEO role faster than expected. "What about it?" I asked. "Dad found out about the first fake marriage plan," Marcus said. "He was going to stop it. Confront the board. He didn't think Rob was fit to run the company." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying there's a file. A safety file. Dad kept it in his home office. I couldn't find it after the funeral, but I think Rob took it." My head was spinning. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about a pattern. Years of manipulation. Maybe even worse. We made a plan. Marcus and I agreed to meet at his father's old house, which had been left empty since the estate settled. We'd search it together. If we found anything, proof of misuse of funds, manipulation, maybe even something darker, we'd go to the authorities. But someone got there first. When we arrived, the front door was ajar. The inside looked ransacked, like someone had been searching for something in a panic. "I locked this place last week," Marcus said, checking the broken lock. "Only Rob and I have keys." We searched anyway. Through drawers, behind cabinets, under floorboards. In the basement, I found a burnt folder. The edges were still warm, like someone had tried to destroy it hours earlier. Only one page remained mostly intact. It was handwritten, signed by Rob's father. "If anything happens to me, this wasn't natural. Don't let Robert bury the truth like he buries everything else." I sat on the basement floor, shaking. Marcus sat beside me in silence. It was never just about the marriage. I was a piece in a much bigger game. A game Rob had been playing long before I walked into that office as a fresh-faced assistant. And now? Now I had a choice. Stay quiet. Or go all in. We decided to confront Rob. Not with accusations, not in secret. Publicly. At the company's annual shareholder gala. It was Marcus's idea. He always controls the narrative, he told me. This time, we take that away. The gala was held at a luxury hotel in Manhattan, crystal chandeliers, champagne towers, cameras everywhere. The perfect stage. Marcus and I arrived separately. He wore his father's cufflinks. I wore the necklace Rob had given me when we made it official. A reminder of the lie I used to believe. We waited until Rob took the stage. He was in his element. Smooth, confident, charming. He thanked the board, toasted the firm's record-breaking year, and praised the support of family and trusted colleagues. Then, he looked right at me in the crowd. He smiled. That practiced, polished smile that used to make my knees weak. I stepped forward. "Robert Callahan," I said loudly enough for the mic to catch. "Tell them about the file your father kept." The room fell silent. Rob's face didn't change at first. He was good at that. But I saw it, the slight twitch at his jawline, the narrowing of his eyes. "I'm sorry," he said, as if he didn't understand. I held up the burnt page. "Your father didn't die of a heart attack. He died scared. He left behind proof that you'd been staging lies for years. Including our marriage." Gasps echoed across the ballroom. Cameras flashed. People started whispering. "You used me to save your name," I continued. "You made me believe you loved me. You even asked for a real relationship when you had already drafted your exit plan. You destroyed everything good we could have had." Rob stepped down from the stage, walking slowly toward me. His face looked different now, less polished, more desperate. "I did what I had to do," he said under his breath. "You don't understand." "I understand exactly," I snapped. "I was part of your PR strategy. Just like Clara. Just like everyone else. But this time, you don't get to spin it." Marcus stepped forward, holding up a flash drive. "This contains financial records," he said, speaking to the crowd. "Shady offshore accounts, investor manipulation, internal bribes. All tied to Rob." Pandemonium broke out. Security moved toward us. Rob turned, his face finally cracking. Not fear. Rage. "You think this makes you a hero?" he snarled at Marcus. "You were nothing before Dad died. And you were always terrified he'd see through you," Marcus replied coldly. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Is this true?" Board members huddled. One of them, Janice, who had always liked me, looked horrified. "I vouched for you," she muttered at Rob. "You said it was all behind you." Rob turned to me one last time. "You don't get it, do you?" he said. "Everything I built. This company, the image, the respect, it only worked because people believed. I made them believe. And you crushed anyone who didn't," I said. He didn't answer. He just walked out. Didn't run. Didn't fight. Just walked, like a man finally realizing the mirror was broken. The board suspended him within 48 hours. Internal investigations began immediately. Reporters called nonstop. Rob issued a cold, lifeless statement about stepping aside to focus on personal matters. And me? I didn't feel triumphant. Not right away. I felt empty. Marta reached out. "You did the right thing," she said. "A lot of people owe you." Even Clara called. Just one line, "You're stronger than I ever was." Marcus offered me a job, helping rebuild what was left of the company. I said no. I needed time. I moved to a smaller apartment in Queens. I started painting again, something I hadn't done since college. I made friends outside of work. I let myself be quiet for once. Sometimes, I still see Rob in my dreams. Sometimes, he's the man who brought me coffee and remembered my favorite flower. Sometimes, he's the man from the stage, stone-faced, manipulating the world one smile at a time. People ask if I ever loved him. Yes. I did. And I think, in some twisted, broken way, part of him loved me too. But love without honesty is a slow poison. Now, I know what it means to choose myself. I don't know where life goes next. But this time I'll be the one writing the script.